It's non-profit making. It's not a charity status. But it's got a legal entity, and it's selling itself on disability access.
Mm.
What is, I've looked at the government guidelines like Gov UK stuff.
Yeah.
Can you give me any pointers? Because it's quite complicated to get into.
Yeah, it rarely looks good when you cover every ground, like
Exactly.
color blindness and all the rest. I've got a mate who's a bit more thorough about 100% what would be the sort of outcome of it. It's more in America that it's a problem. You sort of have these almost like ambulance chasing people who attack drug companies that aren't quite right and then sue them for loads of money because they know they've got loads of money. But in the UK, I don't think it's so bad.
So at the moment, we've got various, I'm a director of this company as well. So do you know how CICs work?
No.
So it's this sort of special status. It's non-profit making. So I get paid for the hours I work, and Leanne gets paid for the hours she works, and other teachers that we have on a freelance. I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
We get paid by the hour, but we can't make profit above that. Everything's got to be invested back into the company. And it means people do this so that you're able to apply for grants and stuff from like Sports England, that sort of thing, Sports Council. Sometimes it's just like very tiny charities. We've got a charity that's based in the Southwest that we've just got a grant from for doing sort of retreats in person, and it's from the granddaughter of A. Milne, who wrote Winnie the Pooh. And it's like a little
Mm.
pot of money, and we've got to spend it on like in-person activities for people with disabilities because they're a difficult group to reach. So things like that. And we've got fairly considerable grant for us, like a few thousand, for sorting out things like websites and communications and stuff like that. But it doesn't go very far. Ted and Harry, they're in as interns, and that's being paid for by a grant from Yext University. So
Yeah.
they're in paid positions, and we've got them for a set length of time, and they've got like a particular area they've got to work on. So we've got like a little bit of funding, but it's very lo-fi, and we're the people sorting the website out on a day-to-day basis. Leanne is the main person. She's also got some rebranding coming up, so the colors are going to be tweaked and changed a bit. The logo is going to be refreshed to reflect CIC status and the fact it's a trademark, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to look at
Well,
it and see? I can bring it up on the shared screen if that helps.
well, I'm just looking at the Wix. The Wix have an accessibility wizard built in.
Okay.
I'm sending some links in the chat. So it looks like they've got an automated wizard that checks the site to see if you're compliant, which is probably the easiest way to do it. If you are a charity, I don't know if you have that much of a problem with people kind of going for you, but obviously the audience will be sensitive to it because they're the ones more,
Yeah.
the odds are more against you there because you're probably likely to have accessibility challenges with your audience. So I guess first thing to do would be to check out this wizard. There's a YouTube video about how to use it.
Okay.
That's probably best to send to the person who's made the site. I don't
Yeah.
know who is that? Is that's not Ted, is it?
No, it's Leanne, but it's existed over about 5 years, and then it's been sort of in and out of messed about with by her.
Hmm. Well, they show you how to use it in the video, and then usually the sort of the core problem is color contrast,
Yeah.
and you can measure that. You find out the hex code of the color
Yeah.
of the background, and then you find the hex code of the foreground color, which is usually the copy,
Yeah.
and then you put it through. There's various ones on the internet that give you a ratio, and there's a certain standard you have to get the contrast at to be passable, and then there's tiers. There's double A and there's triple A, sort of standard of accessibility, and also the font size. If you can get away with certain, if you're going for quite a subtle look with the copy against the background, if you go for quite a big font size, they do specify the size, then you can get away with the lower contrast ratio. Um, and obviously you can't have copy embedded in images if you can help it.
So do you mean like if we've got a lot of copy embedded in images. Look at
Yeah,
you see the
that's not the end of the world, but it's not great because you can have these things called alt tags,
yeah,
and that's in the code, which basically requires someone to write in
yeah,
the alt tag what is actually in the image, and then the image reader will read out
yeah,
what is in the image if they
yeah.
can't see it. But you're just giving yourself lots of extra work to do if you put the copy in the image, because if like translations and if you want to change stuff, you've got to find the source of the image and then export it again. It's bad practice. So
Tend to use our own images because we don't want to use stock imagery because we've got to represent people as they are in the community, and most stock images don't represent people very well in the sort of client group we are using, working with.
yeah,
There is a task, and I think Ted is going to be doing this, of checking all the pictures that we have and squashing them so that they're not taking up so much memory, they're much smaller size and stuff like that, and adding alt text. So this is going to be a task for him. But we have a
mm,
lot of like infographic-y style image when there's like a bit of an image and then stuff splashed over the top like a testimonial or something like that.
yeah. Well, I'm just going to share my screen a sec.
Yeah,
I have to send you a request, I think.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Um, I'm going past loads of permission issues at the moment. I usually use Teams and Microsoft to do all the video stuff, so it's very use Zoom.
I've got multiple participants can share continuously, so that's up. Uh,
I was just getting warning symbols and all my.
my,
I'm not getting a preview of what I can share. I just get warning symbols.
I can put one participant can share at a time, or participants can share. Does that help?
Let me try again. Um, let's see what happens if I do this. I think this is more my end than your end. I've got to switch on a security.
Oh yeah, I won't have the security that you've got.
Okay, I've got to quit and reopen, so I've got to quit Zoom.
Have you got to come back in?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll see you in a sec.
okay.
Right, works now. So this is one we use quite a lot. It's built into a lot of software now, but if you don't have the software, somehow you're going to have to find out the colors that are being used in the infographics. And you
Yeah,
see,
we've got that. We've got a style sheet and we've got particular color things. But can we get access a tracker like this, or do you have to pay for it?
you don't have to pay for it. You just go to this website and you
Okay.
paste in the two values. So you got the background and the foreground. So this would be blue copy on white background. And
Yeah.
then in the green box, it gives you the contrast ratio, which is 9. pretty much 9 to 1, which is
Yeah.
high. If I went played around with the blue, you see how it's tumbling down.
Yeah.
That means the contrast isn't enough. And you can see here, normal
Yeah.
text,
Yeah.
large text, it says fail, fail. And it's giving an example of the copy, what it would look like.
Yeah.
So you can find out which passes, which is quite handy. It gives you the value here.
Okay.
And then you've got the normal text, large text. So that's basically like headlines versus body copy.
Yeah.
And then the triple A and the double A are different standards of, because the triple A is higher than the double A. And there's an explanation as to why underneath.
Yeah.
So the double A only requires 4.5 to 1, and the triple A requires 7 to 1. And they define large text as being like 14 point. So
Okay. Yeah.
that's what you should aim for with the body copy. And then so 18 is a headline as a minimum.
Yeah.
That covers you quite well for just the general treatment of copy throughout the website.
Okay. That's really
Where,
helpful. That's really
yeah,
helpful.
it's basically the sort of the foundation, the bare bones of where to start.
Yeah.
And then there's loads of articles and other things you can test if you're really conscious of it. So color blindness is a tricky one because that affects like, use of red and green. So
Okay.
you might have to reduce that from happening. I've not done much with color blindness, but
It's not a massive, we're aiming really, the client groups we're aiming at are largely female,
right.
not exclusively, but because women are more excluded in the category of client that we're working with, that's where we focus our stuff. Not explicitly, but that is where it's going. That's where the focus is.
Yeah. But this is a good one for copy, which is usually the main problem.
Yeah.
Also tells you about UI interface. So for like input fields and stuff, if you're going to have a color scheme for that,
Yeah.
it tells you whether or not it passes.
So
And
would
then,
that be like we've got a bit on the website where people can book themselves in for classes and they're going to enter stuff in. So that's that sort of thing, is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
and just whether knowing whether or not you've got the right field selected and how harsh you have to be with the color to show that it's the right box you've got it selected.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people get quite subtle with that with like gray and light grays and stuff to make it less obvious on the page. And then yeah, in YouTube, it seems to Wix seems to have this accessibility wizard that you can pull in,
So
and
is this
then
like a little add-on that you'd add on to like your Wix account? Like a
I think it's part of the whole package.
okay.
It's at the top in settings.
Yeah.
Not a great video for showing you what it does there. I think most of it happens on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, alternative text, alt
Yeah.
text. So she's filling in what is that image if you
Yeah.
can't see it
Yeah.
properly, and then it's talking about plants, and it's flagged every instance of there being an image and needing to be filled in.
Yeah. So it's like queuing you to go to certain places.
Yeah. Um, it even gives you a bit of a tutorial about how to write good alt text.
So if Ted, for instance, is doing this, we can direct him to that to this to use actually, I think.
It has a color contrast tool built in,
Yeah.
so it's giving you advice about that button there, and it's
Yeah.
telling you the ratio is 14 to 1.7, which is passable. So you can edit in real time stuff that's already
Yeah.
existing.
Yeah. So you can just take the color up or down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
using those toggles. There's a fail, so you can see how
Yeah.
it's a bit too subtle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just bit. That's another image. Another image.
Yeah.
Image. So maybe it's just images and copy you have to worry about.
Yeah, we're not worrying. It's not a getting sued thing that's the deal, really. It's more the usability for older people. So just people who've got normal age-related eyesight degeneration, just wanting bigger text or good contrast and light and dark sort of differences, as well as more specific needs. But it is difficult because I know once you get in, if we look at, say, neurodiversity needs and people that need something that's got really high contrast, and then you've got neurodiversity needs where people need something that's really gentle and less contrast. So it's a difficult balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just going back and breaking out all that copy out of the images.
Yeah,
That needs to be a new sort of trend, a new habit.
yeah, going ahead with it, adding more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I don't know if you're going to have people relying on screen readers,
I don't know either.
but you
So,
should be covered for that really if you're going to be specializing in
yeah,
this field. Yeah.
and so there's a person who's going to sort of do a rebrand, sort of refresh on a logo and a style sheet for text and colors and stuff like that. Would they're aware of that sort of stuff? Is that the norm for people to be aware of that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But you should definitely raise it just to
Yeah,
sort of
just to
double
make
check.
sure. Yeah, okay. Do you want to bring up the Mobile Artist website just so you can see it for a moment? Mobileartes.com.
Mobilates.com.
.com.
So
See the mix of text and pictures, yeah?
that's an image.
Yeah. And we have,
Massive buttons. That works. That's pretty good.
yeah, okay.
Text over image is not a great idea because that's just a blur for people with visual impairment.
So would you have like a bar above with the text on and the image underneath and that sort of thing?
Yeah, this is a real no-go, this one.
Okay, yeah,
Um, it's important to remember that it's scrollable, and I think the instinct here is to just put everything high up the page, and it's not worth it because it's just yeah, it's just that's a nightmare for people with bad vision.
yeah,
Not even that bad a vision, really. Just if you're wearing glasses, you might struggle with it.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it is.
so yeah, I would free up these moments of imagery, and that it gives the imagery a bit more of a chance to breathe as well, because
Yeah,
it's quite a lot to take on board when you put it on top like that.
it is.
Um,
It's just that if we have the image and the text separately, it then makes it very long, especially on a phone.
yeah, center line copy is hard to read.
Okay,
There's the paragraphs, you can't really do that. It's just because your eye naturally follows the left to right,
yeah,
and if your beginning of each line is moving around, it's really hard to read it. That's for normal people as well with
yeah.
regular sight. So
Is
I
that so
would,
it should be left aligned? Yeah,
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 makes it easier to continue each paragraph. This button here needs to be a bit more easier.
yeah. So it's bigger.
Text links have to be bold. They call it inline links when it's within a paragraph.
Yeah,
Usually they're bold and significant and they have an underline or hover, or sometimes not hover, like this one's got one.
yeah,
But the hover state is a bit of a it's a bit old news really, because if you're on mobile, you don't have a hover state. So
yeah.
it's a luxury, the hover state. I don't logo's nice, but it's going to be tricky for people.
That's going to change. So it's going to change, but have elements of the same. But yeah, anything you want to say about the logo and contrast or trickiness, go carry on. Because what I'm going to do, if it's okay, Jamie, is keep this recording so
Yeah.
I can show it to Ted and Leanne, because what you're saying is just so helpful.
Okay. And the nav bar, ideally, you want to stick at the top. You don't want it to disappear like that. so that it's always retrievable.
Oh, so as you scroll, you can always see it.
They call it a sticky nav, which means when you scroll, it sticks to the top
Yeah,
like that, and
yeah,
then you don't have to go all the way to the top to access it.
yeah, I get it. So it's
And
always,
that,
so even if you write down on your phone, you can still get to all the bit
yeah,
to get to. Yeah.
it's retrievable, and that goes the same with the branding because
So the
there's no
branding will
reason.
come down with you.
Yeah, normally it minimalizes into a smaller version and
Yeah.
sits to the side so that you know where you are, because otherwise you don't know what site you're on. It could be any
So
site.
your logo is always there on the left then.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just reassuring you that you're still on the same, you're in the right place still.
Yeah.
And if you flick to another tab or something, you go back, you don't know where you are.
I mean, something to bear in mind as well, a lot of our users, we get a lot of older users and they're not very literate necessarily, particularly on different devices.
Yeah. But it's
The,
still helpful to have a sort of signpost
yeah.
in that the logo's there just to reassure you. Um, Color is quite generous of this at the moment, which kind of devalues color if you overuse it. So I would reconsider how generous you are with the color. And
You mean like the, so for instance, that sort of rainbowy background where it says retreat for the day, accessible and adapted.
yeah, does it deserve that much of presence and praise and kind of awareness? Because every time you go mad with the color, it just sort of devalues the power of it.
So choose your moments.
Well, yeah, it's kind of it can be it's like when I remember I sent that video about the severance thing and the three colors, and
Yes,
they were talking about it there and how the brain processes color and stuff. And if you have loads of color,
it's a lot to work on.
you feel a bit lost, yeah, like you're at a festival or something. And so you want to reduce it to like three colors, and then you have your ratios of what's the what's the primary color, secondary, and then that makes you feel like you're in the same place rather than this feels like you're in several different places.
Yes, I know what
But
you mean.
it's getting there though, because you got that peachy salmon color.
Yeah.
Um, so that color, I'm gonna take a screenshot of that.
I mean, this color is possibly up for changing. I know Leon wants a really like a really neony pink, but it might be too intense on a website. I'm not sure. It's something that's been looked at the moment. So this is why these discussions are like really there's gold at the moment.
Yeah, I doubt that's gonna happen with the pink.
I've got the name. I've got the exact thing for that if you need it.
So that fails at the moment, that salmon color.
Okay.
If you have white text on it. It passes on large copy, which is what I get 18 points. So this headline will be right.
Yeah, but not the
But
text
this
bit.
stuff here will be that one. Normal text, 14 point,
Mm,
18 and bold or larger. That's the large text. Normal text. Yeah, it's just shy of 4.5.
okay.
So this stuff here is embedded, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to look at a
This,
different page? Oh, yeah, you're already there.
yeah, this one here is, I can tell is already a fail
Yeah,
because
I can. Yeah.
you got the two same colors. So you've got that color. So yeah, whoever gets to work on the site just needs to refine the palette of colors because there
Well,
seems to be
this
lots of variations in the same sort of peachy salmon color. So that's a
this
massive
also
fail, that one.
this also goes into the branding, because if they're going to give us a style sheet, this is what all the social media stuff is going to be using for the colors. So if it's being tweaked, now is the time to sort of look at the whole thing
Yeah.
and give us a good range of things.
These are failing, these light pink and white
Yeah,
with the with active page. That one needs quite urgently fixing.
yeah.
Easily fine. As they're in white.
Recognize those?
Yeah. Is that a sienna or sienna?
Sienna.
That's sassy, isn't it? Sienna.
Oh,
Sienna.
Sienna's very sassy.
Despite being director of restful well-being.
She's just recovering from a little operation at the moment. Well, I say a little, quite a significant operation. This is quite a big page. This is an important page because this is where everybody will go to this page at some point, the classes, because you're going to book your trial, you can read about your classes. So this fails, does it? Or that the image with
Yeah.
the text on it? Yeah.
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 This
Okay.
button as well,
Not dark.
starting off in the negative. Yeah. It
It
needs to
needs
be
to
more,
be dark
it needs
already.
to be like that from the get-go.
Yeah. So it'd be like the navy color, I think we use at the moment. Yeah. Okay.
There's a certain amount of strategy to think about here in that is it really, do you really want people to click this before they've read this? Because if you put it here, your instinct's to click it before you've read that.
So you could put it lower down if you want them to read that text first, which is also quite small and might need to be less and bigger.
It depends. It depends on whether or not people might find that annoying because like, where's the button to book? Where's the button to claim? Because trying to get people to read it's quite hard. Usually people
Yeah.
don't bother.
Some people,
Only when they're invested. You could go narrow with the width of the columns. People tend to read columns that are narrower more easily than wider. It's harder to read that when it's so wide.
so do you mean like you might have two columns side by side?
It doesn't look like
Oh,
it's not scaling either. So if you went to a device that's quite small, you'd be going off screen.
okay. I think it is optimized for website stuff.
The images are below. You can see they're scaling,
Yeah.
but the footer seems to be stuck as well.
There's probably a lot that needs to be looked at, to be honest.
Yeah, but the responsiveness of it is quite important so that you cover every device.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, that's something Wix can probably help you with as a feature of the software. But yeah, I was going to show you the copy being more narrow, being a bit more desirable to read, but it's harder to do that. It's basically something that's inherited from like newspapers where
Yeah.
you find you're so used to reading those narrow columns, and there's a reason why, because they're a lot easier to read. So you can see like with the Guardian, see how everything's narrow.
Yeah.
They're so much easier to read. They are bite-sized, but if you go into an article, see the body is quite, it's about, I don't know, a quarter tighter in its width,
Yeah.
and it's easier to read that. Um, yeah, this that one there is so much more easier to read than these.
So which one's easier? The this one with the text or the one where you've got the face and the text next to it?
The simple one with the photo and the copy on white, even though it's quite plain, it's just effortless to read. And this one's hard
Yeah.
because it's a bit, you don't know where to start really.
Well, the reason we'll have that is people are often quite reluctant to give us a photo. That other person who had given us a photo, she has a business, so she knows what this is like because she needs this on her own website. Most of these other people, they are willing to give the testimonial, but they do not want to give a picture of themselves.
Yeah, but the order's a bit all over the shop in that the name's first and the quote.
Yeah.
it would be better to have a side by side, or at least have the name at the end, like a sort of sign off,
Yeah,
and perhaps have a bit of light relief with an image. If
something.
the Yeah, if there's not a photo, then one of the poses of mobile art is
Yeah,
just to give you a bit of eye candy to sort of pull you in.
yeah.
Otherwise, you just rely on copy, and probably be a bit more stricter on the font size, a bit more consistent.
Yeah, at the moment, the font size is varying to do with the amount of content, but are you saying it needs to be consistent and therefore in some of them they just need to be shorter?
It's sort of subconscious, but the consistency is something you rely on. And if you keep flicking
Yeah,
through different sizes of copy, it kind of
it's a bit, it gets the eyes.
it brings a bit of it makes it a bit too chaotic, and
Yeah,
you don't feel settled. But yeah, that bit.
justify to the left.
I think just break it up as well. It's a lot in one go.
Yeah, so what's the
You
space between the
It
lines?
should be like a checklist, really. Tick, 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 kind
Yes,
of.
yes, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like it's bullet pointed or tick listed down the side or something like that.
Yeah, just a bit more considerate, and get in touch if any of these affect you, or if this is if you are living with any of these issues below, get in touch. Just a rethink.
Are you
And
okay
then
for time on this, by the way? Am I?
yeah, yeah. This is your form.
Yeah.
Everybody hates forms like this.
Right. It,
They rarely get used. So
we do get some people using us from this, but they come through other ways as well. So what they can also do is book a free trial, and that gives an automated other sets of forms. But what else would you do instead of that, if not that?
what would be the second most used way of getting in touch? Is it literally a phone call? Is it on social media? Or is the social stuff something you can really push people towards, or is it sort of half finished? Or
No, Facebook's the biggest one for us. YouTube is not, and Instagram is not. They're just things that we do have. Most people will get in touch by email.
well, these are all very subtle at the moment,
Yeah, so they need to be
and
more significant, maybe.
they all have handles as well, which aren't visible. So there'll be a at Mobile Artes, or there'll be an account name for the Instagram.
Yeah,
There'll be an account name for his, yeah, and that could be a bit more clearer.
yeah.
And just you could probably make them a lot bigger, a lot more generous, just to make it more obvious that they're all available. Um,
The Facebook one is particularly significant because that's our biggest audiences on Facebook, and quite a few people will message us on Facebook, especially on their first contact. They might see a post or see an advert, and that might be where they come through on Messenger.
yeah, but even just being small, they're quite hard to click
Yeah,
as well. So I think you celebrate these more.
yeah,
The form can stay. Uh, this is a good example of the photos working a lot better without the copy on top,
yeah.
because that's reassuring to see. Uh, it's reassuring to see it actually is real, and that
Yeah,
there's people doing it, and that it's relatable, and you can compare yourself to what's in the pictures, and they're not just sort of unrealistic. Some of these are a bit okay. Those
so
ones are a
this
lot more
this
real.
is very new, that chronic health conditions bit, that we've literally in the last 2 weeks that's just gone up. We've got a volunteer working on that, and it's not, it's up as a sort of, you can see it and you
Yeah,
can read it, but it's not polished. We haven't chosen all the images. This page, however, this is everything. This is the page that people go back to time and time again to book their classes, and they're either booking online, we book them in person, but they might want to look at what's available. But the social events and there's extra events, might be something like a day retreat in person or online.
Yeah, it's all embedded though.
Yes, it is.
It's nice to see the effort because they do look like events.
Yeah.
They're not just text, which is kind of what you get here.
I mean, that's a quick summary, so that they know they're in the right place on our booking system. So that's good, takes them to Acuity, so that they know that they're looking at the right sets of classes. So for us, this is all the classes that are actual in-person classes, of which there are fewer. The
Yeah.
online classes is the main focus. That's the main part of the business.
I think I have to take it away with me and have a go at just moving stuff around and send it back to you. Probably a better way of doing it.
How would you do that?
Easy. I just screenshot it and then take it apart and chuck it back to you.
I mean, this is so helpful, Jamie. Honestly, I had no idea it was going to be this helpful. It's really, really good.
That's all right. But yeah, I think I might have to clock off soon. But
Yeah,
I think what I can do though is just get my head around what everything is, and then just do like an audit and flag stuff, and then you can take it from there.
lovely. It might even be Ted who's taking some of it as well.
Well,
Keep
then
it.
he can lean on Richie a bit then for advice as well.
Oh my God. Okay.
But yeah, normally you set up a style sheet of there's these categories of headline. There's like H1, H2, H3, H4, and every page there should only be one H1 because that's supposed to be the
Yeah.
main headline.
Yeah.
And H2 is your second most prominent headline style, and then H3 is probably the most common one, which is the one you see here. And all that probably just needs a bit of a locking down. So that'll be your H1 there.
Yeah.
These would be H2.
Yeah.
But if we go to another page, let's see what happens. That's a bigger H1. That's probably H3. But yeah, that's getting quite granular though.
Yeah. I mean, the main pages that we get people using. So the start here, that's the initials page that they go to. And then they'd be looking at the classes. And they might click and go on a certain journey, like they're looking at how much it costs, looking at prices, or they're looking at specifics like, oh, I'm in Exeter, or I'm in Kent, or I'm online, or whichever their thing is. These are often people with things like brain fog. They really can't move mentally very quickly from page to page, and we need those initial pages where they're either booking a free trial or they're contacting us. Those initial actions, that has to be as easy as possible, because otherwise they'll just email us and then we've got to deal with it. And they'll be like, I don't know how to book, I can't do this. We've got stuff on the website that will show them how to book, but they've got to be able to find it really easily.
From the first instance.
Yeah, so
on the home page.
On that, yeah, and they start here. So the pop-up going on that journey, if they click on that, they can go through there. They get like a trial in person if they're a in-person person, or they'll get a one-to-one consultation in Zoom, and then they get booked in for a number of free classes online to try out, and then they can book for themselves.
Okay.
But that page there is obviously, that's the home page, is everything. That, the classes and the members booking page, the rest, the contact, the blog, that's very new. The blog and the chronic health conditions, they are lovely extras, and they're sort of like enhanced benefits for people who are sticking around a bit longer, I would say. And some people stick around for a really long time. But they're getting people started and getting them connected, because community is everything. It's not just coming to a class, it's being part of this tribe and part of this community.
Okay. Cool. I'll have a look then and get my head around it all because there's quite a lot to.
Unpick.
Well, there's quite a lot of copy.
Yeah, there is. We're going to have more photographs are coming. Ted's taking pictures. We've just had some funding through to sort a lot of this stuff out. And before that, it's just one person. It's just Leanne working on this by herself a lot of the time.
Mm.
So yeah, and it's just be it's years in the building, and now it's gonna be tweaked around. Brand colors are going to tweak, and it'll be just bringing all that together whilst keeping it all functioning as well, because we don't ever want to want to lose the actual functioning of the website the minimum amount of time, because we're just losing people if we do that.
Okay. So I think that there's a case for kind of reducing it if the need is quite simple in the sense of we've got to simplify the experience because of the issues that people come in with. And
Mm.
I know there's a real enthusiasm to explain stuff with all the copy, but I don't know if it is overwhelming as well.
It's finding the balance between the two. That sort of stuff, we have to explain that, because that's where we refer people after they've been for a trial. They look at this page and they see all their offers. This comes in an email to them. It takes them to that. They can go to that page and look at this in depth. And so this is like really important information, because this is when we sign them up, and it's a members thing. They pay every month. They're not paying per class.
Yeah.
So that page particularly, for all the different versions, the online and the in-person, I would say most people are going to look at the online options. So these in-person things, that's less common. It's a much smaller number of people. But I can see contrast issues.
Yeah, these ones
Yeah.
are great if you can see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's probably just a bit more space in between stuff because it's all quite stacked. And just have a bit more breathing space.
Do you mean like white space,
Yeah.
sort of beneath between that white and pink zone, just a bit more white space?
Yeah, just more relief from each section.
Yeah.
So that we get to breathe a bit more without being distracted by the one underneath it so easily. A nice iPad on. Vinted has started doing electricals now.
Who are?
Vinted.
Oh yeah. I don't know that I would though.
No, I saw a deal that was too good to be true last night. But it was tempting.
I need to talk to you about what I'm going to do about CEX as well.
Well, I looked into the entry level iPad, which is only like 250 quid now at John Lewis. And it has quite a lot going for it if you really wanted to play it safe.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know that the iPads are going to be right, because I work so often with multiple windows open and sort of saving stuff into various folders, that I don't know if it's just going to be really difficult to make that switch mentally.
Well, mobility is the main gift of the iPad. Mobility isn't a good thing or a bonus, then it might be a waste of time. Yeah. If
I
you already
don't.
got mobility from your phone, then you
Yeah,
may not need it from the iPad.
yeah. I don't. I've already. Yeah. So it might be going more for a laptop.
Maybe that's just mobility, but again, I would say depends what you want to do with that room, really. Because if you could get a Mac Mini, which is a little puck size thing, and then a screen for like 100 quid, and you've got a decent computer setup then.
Shall I, in the meantime, take? I got the Apple Pencil and dug that out and all the stuff with that. Shall I just take that to CEX and start stacking the credit up?
Nah, there's no rush for that one.
Okay.
They've moved on quite a lot with that pencil, so you're not going to miss out that much with that.
Okay. Shall we
Yeah,
finish there so you're good for work?
yeah. I'll get back to you and do you an audit of the site, either in like a PDF or an online one,
Okay.
and
Huge,
then
huge appreciation, Jamie. Really, thank you. It's very helpful.
sorry, it's kind of my instinct to do this sort of thing.
Well, you can always, have you got a volunteer program at work?
Um, I wouldn't like to say at the moment. It's kind of like the Wild West. But yeah, there's lots of credit usually from doing pro bono stuff.
So you could class this as part of your voluntary work because there'll be some sort of scheme. And we are a CIC, so,
We're doing a lot about suicide at the moment, which is fun.
cheering, cheering.
Yeah, yeah. It was a big brief, like an open brief we had on the TV and the whole open plan floor. I don't know if they quite considered that well, but basically male suicide, mate.
Yeah, they perhaps you need to reach out to people and just check on the triggering issues.
Yeah, I might want to send an email out
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
but I think that's been and gone now because they've entered it for an award. It's all about football, going to the football with your mate, and then one day he doesn't show up. That's the sort of the angle, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I will put together something, either a PDF or something online, and then maybe offer some solutions as to how to use the existing stuff.
Yeah. What sort of timeline do you think you'd be on for that?
Probably Easter,
Okay,
because
yeah,
I've got some time off coming up
yeah, okay,
after next week. So within the next sort of 2 weeks or so.
okay. That's fantastic.
This week will be a bit mad, but after that, it's up to me.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to the break, I'm sure.
Yeah, the weather breaks though on Sunday, which is annoying.
I know I haven't had a holiday yet this year, and my break's coming from next Tuesday afternoon. And that's when the weather's like, oh, it's a bit rainy and a bit this and a bit that.
I think there's hope for the week after, but I don't know if you've got that.
It's not bad.
Um,
It's not going to be dreadful. It's just
no.
not quite like it is now.
I was looking up those peanuts, chocolate egg things,
Oh yeah.
Montezuma. Really, really excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to nail it. I'm going to go on directly to the website, the manufacturer, and do it in advance. I'll be all over it. And then I got distracted by this 3 kilo bucket on offer. And I
That's
just thought,
oh,
how can you ever justify that? 3 kilos of mini eggs.
that's bad.
Like, like you get those tubs of like grout. It was like one of them.
3 kilos.
Full
That's like 7 pounds or something. 7.5 pounds.
So I did hover over that for a moment. And then when I looked at the ingredients, there it was. It was like soya and
Oh no.
fucking all happening, deals off. But yeah, I'll try and get hold of some for you. I think Amazon's going to be the answer for that.
Right.
And they'll be all yours because I can't eat them.
No, don't get them for me. I don't want them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want the extra stuff in. I try and eat my chocolate as pure as possible.
Okay. I'll resist them. Well, then I'll probably see you on Tuesday next week, maybe.
Yeah, I'm off from I've got work in the morning and an appointment, and then from lunchtime I'm off for the rest of that week. And I'll be baking and stuff like that. I'll be doing hot cross buns, obviously. And
Okay.
I think Lula and Manny and baby should be over at some point and stuff like that.
Well, I should be around for Tuesday.
All right.
Probably more realistic Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, we're all off here. I'm taking a few days off in the in the rain.
Yeah. I can't imagine it at the moment, but it'll happen.
Right. Thank you so much. That has been it's quite weird doing it in such a worky type situation for both of us, but it was really, really helpful.
That's the way it is now, isn't it?
It is. It's right.
Chat GBT as well is quite helpful for stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, do use that bit.
That'll give you some advice in a weird, friendly way.
Going to send this recording to Leanne and to Ted, I think, so they can get it because there's so much in it for them to sort of unpick.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Right. I shall leave you to it.
Cheerio.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.